that would suggest that they're estimating or they're budgeting for next year to have more parcels pay and less people in default.
I can further answer that question. So for fiscal year 23, the current year that we're at, we had estimated your revenue of 303,200. So 303,200 was the total estimated revenue. So as you can see, we're always estimating our revenues a little bit higher than what we actually receive. So it's not that the parcel count significantly increased, is that the amount of payments that we're actually receiving. Okay, if we don't have any questions on that page, sorry. On column 2, you will notice the $285,000 from the grant that was received by the water district, so that's included in here as well.
And that's cloud seeding.
And that's, of course, as part of the revenue that is being received fiscal year 23.
Thank you.
The next page is a summary of your total revenue, just rolled over from the next page, as well as the beginning fund balance that you can estimate for the current fiscal year. We started the fiscal year with $669,311. That's reflected of column 2. Based on the expenditures that we're seeing from the water district, we are forecasting the beginning fund balance for fiscal year 24 to begin at $975,823. Keep in mind that includes the $285,000 from the cloud seeding grant that was received.
Thank you.
If we continue on to page 8, these are your estimated and actuals as well as forecasted expenditures for fiscal year 24. Column 1 is your actuals of fiscal year 22. Again, column 2 is your estimate current expenditures, as well as column 3 and 4 are your expenditures as we budgeted for fiscal year 24. As you notice, I played a little bit with the figures, leaving the water district a little wiggle room for fiscal year 23. Since you are in the process of doing the cloud seeding project, I'm not really sure where it's at. So I didn't want to cut the water district short with not having some of that revenue available in my forecast. So I included some of that expenditures in there. Of course, if that is not spent in fiscal year 23, that will roll over into fiscal year 24. And in fiscal year 24, of course, we have salaries and benefits. And right now, you don't have a dedicated water district employee. You do have the contract, of course, with your general manager, but we do have expenditures from Nye County staff that is charged to the water district. And I kept it in par because that's where it seems to be the expenditures within the $55,000-60,000 range for salaries, and then of course their prospective benefits. For the risk management insurance policy, where you are pulled and pay a portion to Nye County, that has decreased slightly, only because your revenues decreased slightly as we budgeted. So the risk management insurance pool is a percentage calculated off of your revenue. That's what the percentage was set by the BOCC. So of course we follow that policy.
So for the employees, how many people does this cover? I know it's only part of their time, but do you have an idea of how many county employees were covering part of their salary?
Well, I know you have at least 4 employees that at any given time do some work for the water district. That includes QA, a very small amount. I know John Clanky, myself, and, well, Savannah used to when she was comptroller, so right now it's me acting in both of those roles.
Okay, so 3 people?
Well, currently 3 people, yes.
Okay, so it's part-time for 3 people.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And, so that is all I have on the expenditure side, unless you have any other questions. If we continue on to page 10 on the top, this is the total summary of the budget. Again, columns 1 is fiscal 22, column 2 is fiscal year 23, column 3 and 4 are your fiscal year 24s. As D-tax rules, we are able to set aside a 3% contingency of the total expenditures, and that's what you see, that 27,254 is set aside in case the board needs to spend something further than what's already been budgeted. You have that percentage set aside for you. With all the expenditures being budgeted based on the revenues that we receive, I'm forecasting for you to end the fiscal year 24 with a $333,807.
Another question.
Sure.
I guess I just don't understand, why do you have a tentative approved for 2024 and a final approved? What's the difference in those?
Great question. So with the Department of Taxation, we have to submit tentative figures to them due April 15th for them to review and let us know if they see anything before the finals presented to the board for your approval. So that's what I sent my original figures on that column 3 for them to review, and then there might be slight changes when I submit based on your approvals today. So in this case, if you give me a minute, I will. If you go back to page 7, I'm sorry, I think it was 9, 1 second, yeah, page 9. If you notice the expenditures for services and supplies, I had originally budgeted at $785,000. Well, I ended up not budgeting as much in your services and supplies for fiscal year 23, because I could see the trends that you're not gonna be done with the cloud seeding, so you're gonna utilize that funding more in fiscal year 24. So I needed to adjust those figures so you could have the bulk of that expenditures in fiscal year 24 versus in fiscal year 23. So that's where that change came from.
Right, but the cloud seeding is a 5-year program.
Correct.
So it just keeps rolling over.
If I may interject here, the cloud seeding program is the grant is a 4-year program, is what we've established with Frank and DRI. However, this may have some impact. The nature of that grant was a 1-year term, so that bill is going to come in. It's actually already come in a big bulk, and that'll happen in this fiscal year at 285. So it'll all come out at once.
In fiscal year 23 or in fiscal year 24?
This fiscal year, where we
Where
stand.
we're currently at, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
24?
This is 22, 23, right?
Correct, fiscal year 23.
It'll all come out of this fiscal year. It'll all take place. The money will come in and it will go out all in the same fiscal year.
My understanding was that it was to be done over the 4-year time frame.
Mine as well, but once the grant was all realized, there is a term limit on that grant. So when it came in, there was a deadline.
You have to use the funds.
So we have to expend the funds. The program can continue for 4 years, but in order to satisfy the terms of the grant, the monies need to be dispensed.
I don't think that was clearly clarified at the time.
Nor to myself.
Yeah, but that's where we're at, so,
Chair, may I?
yes.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting, and of all people that should know, who has a grant administrator in your household that works for Nye County, I would be curious, is the money was in fact spent, it was given to the Water District Governing Board, so it's come out of those coffers and into your coffers, so it's a done deal. So I'm curious how that does work. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe just a quick follow-up if I may, Chair.
Please.
So then if I'm looking at page 9 at the upper right-hand corner, column 2, services and supplies estimated current year spending. If what I'm hearing from our manager is correct, if I'm understanding correctly, that 175 amount is due to go up significantly because all of those expenses, even though they're not all incurred in the year ending 6/30/2023, even though that term is 4 years, the total amount of money will be expensed. It'd be a prepaid expense, so to speak.
That's my understanding, and as it's been explained to me as to the necessity of a single payment on the grant, and that answer did come from the Nye County's grants department.
So that would have the effect then of, like you said, amplifying the current year by about 100,000, and then that would actually have the other effect on the other side of reducing the services supplies expenses in the year ending 6/30/2024.
I believe you're correct there. There's really no way that the left hand could have completely known what the right hand was doing in this situation. So Liz's document is complete as she presented it. There's no way she could have known where and when DRI was going to send that, how that was going to lay out.
And now grant advice.
Oh,
Yes.
it's here.
Please give your last
Cindy,
name.
listen, thank you.
Good morning, Stephanie Elliott, ELLIOTT for the record. I'm the Contracts and Grants Manager for Nye County.